Are we on Clubhouse here now too? I got
you on Clubhouse and this, and we're recording. So just anybody that's listening on Clubhouse, which we don't have anybody in there yet, but anybody that jumps in, they will have to be notified that they're being recorded. Yeah, this is my first time doing this on Clubhouse here. So I don't know if, we'll actually get anybody on there or whatever, but I wanted to throw that opportunity out to everybody.
The last time I said this is my first time, I was 16 years old.
TMI. TMI.
There's no such thing in my world. You're like, I know there's no such thing as TMI. That's why I have you on. Every time I have you on, you always say something that's too much, which makes it worth listening to.
And as we go back, we'll go and bleep things, I'm sure.
What are the rules here? Are we allowed to say who you work for and stuff like that? Or do we still keep that a secret?
We keep that a secret. Yep.
We know that you are personally a professional mascot, though, right?
That is it.
That is it. You are currently a professional mascot on planet Earth. What about, do you know that if it's in the United States, other than your
in the United States,
American,
in the NBA?
Oh boy, this is like 20 questions. We can narrow it down. It's a National Basketball Association mascot in America, in the United States. So you're not the Raptor. That's the only other team. Could have used to be the Grizzlies, but nope, they're gone.
Nope, that dwindled the options down even more.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Whew. Think about all the people that could just figure it out by Googling your name.
No.
Tell Google to undo it.
No, this is plausible deniability right here.
Yes. Okay, that's right. You didn't do it. You don't control Google, so nor Facebook. Right. So. Hey, Daddy's doing a podcast right now. Here, hold on. Here's my daughter. You get to see her in the podcast. Remember, Daddy said he's doing a podcast, and you're supposed to be watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right? Go ahead, put your glasses on. Show the podcast real quick. That's just one eyebrow broken. Put them on. Okay, Groucho Marx. She's a little Groucho Marx. Everybody get back in there. Sorry, that's what it looks like these days for me, Ken. I am a single dad, exactly half the week, of two sets of twins, identical twins, Jack and Luke, who are 12 years old, virtual schooling in 6th grade, and 4.5-year-old Brooklyn and Bailey, fraternal twins, who, try working like 3 jobs right now as I've pivoted completely away from the event business and sports business in this pandemic. But 2 full days a week, I work at home with all 4 kids.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm telling you, I've been there, I've done that. And you and I actually have been through some similar situations as far as divorce goes, raising kids goes, and trying to juggle everything and still being at the top of our game, Yeah,
well, you're at the top of your game. I mean, divorce with kids, it's awesome. I'd highly recommend it to anybody out there in life that really wants to know how bad life can feel, just so you can feel how good it really is and appreciate it when it's better again.
And everybody told me at the time, hey, it's temporary. It was whatever.
I'll tell you one thing that's not temporary about divorce with kids, especially when you do it twice like me. If you hate money, do what I've done. If you just hate money, get divorced twice with kids with twins each time. And then you won't have any. So you won't have a problem.
Yeah, no worries. All your dreams will come true if that's the way it is.
Yeah. If you like money, like I do, you're going to be working until 20 years after you're dead to pay for all of this.
I know. And if you really want to, just really twist the knife a little bit, you could go through and do the math on how much you've already spent.
This is true.
Don't.
two divorces.
Just don't. No, don't. Stop right
three
there.
rounds of in vitro fertilization to have the children. I can't believe I have any money in my back pocket right now. And if I look at this last year, in the last 12-month rolling year, so what? March 1, 2020 to March 1, 2021, I think I've had like 15 jobs. I mean, some of them are clients and they were limited time projects. But man, I have done everything from bartend twice a week at my old watering hole, Keneally's Irish Pub, online public speaking, visiting all the firehouses in town for Nectar juice bars, doing a industrial film for ExxonMobil, a couple Newton gigs, the mascot I created, both in person, social distance, and virtually. I just did 2 school shows virtually online from my home studio. Mascot U as the director and one of the headline speakers. Hold on, I'm forgetting something before I get to the major one. Oh, working for Push Play, which is an app that gives away free money every week, where all you do is stare at your phone and hit the button when it lights up. So advertisers, it's an advertiser's dream because people just stare at their phone. It's free to download, free to play, and boom, when you hit it, boom, you won $5,000 as one of the people playing in all 50 states. There's some other stuff, but then I'm selling mineral rights. So right there, I've done all of those jobs. My latest and biggest, and what I do most of the time, is I'm a CMO for Spear Minerals, where I sell real subsurface property. It's real estate. It's real property that is leased out to the oil companies that they drill on. So I don't know. I think that was at least 10 jobs off the top of my head.
A lot of people have had to pivot, like you said, during this time. And look at you, man, you're juking.
Yeah, I'm like, you're Allen Iverson. I'm pivoting back and forth.
That's right.
I'm hoping not to pivot for a while.
It sounds like a good gig though that you got going on now.
The Spear Mineral stuff is, if you asked me what I knew about the energy, oil and gas and energy business back in October, I would have said, I know where to pump my gas. And I know how to turn on my stove. And I know that oil is made, or gasoline's made from oil. I have learned so much. It's been fascinating. I learned what horizontal drilling is. And some people out there listening to this might think it's simple or like, duh, you didn't know this. But it's amazing to me that we can go 1.5 miles straight down into the earth with a drill bit, make a right turn, go 3 miles, and then with some fracking, which despite what some people might have heard, does not hurt the earth, but with water and sand, frack, and then get oil 300 feet from each side of the drill bit, 20 feet up, 20 feet down, and all of that comes out of one hole in the ground. So an aerial view is a 3-mile long rectangle by 600 feet wide, and it's 1.5 miles below the earth, and it's all coming out of one hole in the ground. And that blew my mind. I just learned that in October. Yeah, and then everything that goes along with it, from a financial instrument, side of things, that it's real property, that, people usually hold on to it for generation after generation. There's a 15% tax depletion, and that it's a very profitable, predictable, stable ownership in land. It's a passive land ownership. It's not like owning an apartment complex where you have to pay a handyman to fix that or replace the carpets when a tenant moves out, or you have 10% vacancy. It's land that's all leased up, actively producing oil. And it's, we're always going to need oil. I didn't, and you learn facts. I feel like Cliff Clavin now from, Cheers. I thought, well, what happens when they suck all the oil out of the ground? they never get to suck all the oil out of the ground. The most that they've ever gotten out of existing technology out of a shale play is 40 to 50%. So that means 50% of the original oil in place is still sitting in the ground. And to get 40 to 50% out, that takes 30, 40 years. So, what's the technology going to be like then? And it's going to take 100 more years to get it all out of the ground. 70% of a barrel of oil is not used to make gasoline. That blew my mind. Only 30% of a barrel of oil is used to make gasoline. The other 70% is used to make polymers, rubbers, plastics, and jet fuel, and also in manufacturing. It's what keeps the motors running that works in all the factories. So who thought tuning in to two mascots talking that this is what we'd be, or I'd be talking about so much?
So there's life after. There's life after. There's life after Mascot. So
yeah, I mean, I can get excited about anything as long as I set my mind to it and make a decision that I can get passionate about it.
Well, yeah, that's what I've always loved about you. I mean, honestly, okay, so backing up just a little bit, Robert, if anybody doesn't know, used to be the mascot for the Houston Rockets.
Yes, sir.
Yes, clutch, and was awesome at it. Brought so much energy and so many, innovations and cutting edge stuff, cutting edge comedy, and was always trying new stuff. Like you said, always pivoting to something else, something new, and pushing those boundaries and lines and all that stuff. And
so were you, Kenny. I mean, there was a couple of us in my mind that, the biggest thing about the NBA is you had 41 nights. We had the biggest opportunity in mascotting, right? And
biggest stage. It's the biggest stage, best stage.
The biggest stage. And I was always a proponent of reminding people that when they said, oh, these guys in the NBA are the best or whatever. And it's like, hold on. That's not 100% about the performer. That's the opportunity these individuals were given in that they have a intimate enough setting. It's 18,000 people in the round. And it's not something like 70,000 people where, geez, that's so big, football, back a stage to center field is 30 seconds and then off is 30 seconds. Well, if you have a 2-minute timeout or quarter break, half of your time is loading on and off the field. And, that's not that exciting. So, right. There's limitations there. Same in baseball with the size and where's the focal point? Is it home plate? Is it the pitcher's mound? Is it the dugout? What is it? Hockey, you have the boards as a barrier and you have the ice surface and not that many breaks in play. The NBA, we had it perfectly, right? We had this hard surface. You stand at center court, you're within view of the worst seat in the house very easily. So you have immediate attention. You have a jumbotron. Sorry, I'm using an outdated term. A big screen right above you. You have the MC, usually a PA, the music. You're only about 5 seconds. In my case right now at 46 post-career, 10 seconds from back of stage to mid-court. You're still in tip-top physical form. 5 seconds. And you could do these Saturday Night Live caliber sketches and skits, both live and pre-recorded video skits, where the advantage was to us. It's just then what'd you do with it? And, there's probably 5 guys or so, I think, in the NBA that maximized that situation and opportunity. You obviously being one of them, and then we also had the advantage of, because we had that much inventory, we had 41 games. It's not like football where you only have 8 or 10. We had 41 nights, and a lot of them are season ticket holders. You can't do the same crap night after night because they've seen it all. Yeah. So you got to change it up. And then that's why we all started with networking in the late 90s and trading ideas, because we realized, hey, the guy that was in Utah wasn't in competition with me in Houston, because we were kind of basically, not on the national stage, we were on the local stage. the national stage only came into it a little bit with social media, but that's not what pays the bills for adding value to the season ticket holder and the live experience. So then we started sharing all these ideas, and it was like I always think of Saturday Night Live because that was kind of my dream, but it was like having a room full of 30 writers doing their own little thing and then cross-pollinating ideas. And, I think 4 or 5 of us really did it at a pretty high level.
Well, yeah. And when you talk about us coordinating with, or collaborating with other mascots and everything, I remember back in a back hallway one time, the president of my country at the president.
It feels like that sometimes.
Seriously.
Hey, this stuff can take over your life where it's an obsession. It feels like a country.
Sure does. Sure does.
Yeah.
So the president of our company, he's walking by in the back hallway, and I was taking a break from practicing dunking, and I was worn out because I was getting ready for an all-star game. Now, we were, Absey just posted something about an all-star game when we used to go and have these dunk contests and everything. And, it was crazy because back then so much at the all-star game was focused on the mascots. So there's a lot of pressure. We had a whole dunk contest. And anyways, Tim Lywicki, he's walking by and he's like, "Hey man, what's up? How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing very well." "What's the matter?" He's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "Hey man, how do you expect me to do this stuff with this big old head and I can't see the trampoline. I'm expected to do this big old dunk I was all kind of out of breath and panicked and sore and everything." And he goes, hey, look, all you got to worry about is who's in our building. I don't care who's out there. I don't care about All-Star. Yeah. This is who pays your mortgage. You worry about this. Whatever happens there, happens there. But man, just do your best. I don't care about the rest. I was like, oh, thank you. That's what that's what I need. That's what I needed right then.
Yeah.
He was a wise man.
Yeah, well, so much of this job is not just what we do, but it's who we are. It's our identity, and it's our baby. And we take it so personally, and people that have never done it don't understand it. And I'm sure all of us that have done it at a high level for a decent amount of time, a long amount of time, have been told countless times, "Oh, don't take it so personally." And it's like, yeah, until you walk in my shoes, there's no way to be really good at this and not take it personally. And I don't know anybody in the business that doesn't.
Yeah. That same guy, another season, it was at the end of a game and I was exhausted and I was in the hallway. It was after a game and I was waiting for somebody in the hallway or whatever. And he walked by and he's like, "What's the matter?" Because he could tell I was stressed and kind of upset a little bit. And this was early on in my career. So, I was still very sensitive and everything was very personal. And he goes, "What's wrong with you?" I go, and I kind of got choked up. And I was like, oh man, I'm just upset at something somebody said tonight. Somebody was like in my face.
Somebody asked you to do something in that second.
What's that?
Was this where somebody asked you to do an appearance with like no notice, or is this a different story?
No, different story. It was just after a game and I was all upset and everything. And I'd taken I had taken something personal during the game. Somebody said to me, a fan.
Yeah.
And it was just like, in your face, "You suck, man, you suck." And one of those just really berating comments. And he's like, "Are you serious? You upset about that?" I was tired. I was, I had kind of spent everything and I was, exhausted and everything. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, "Dude, don't take it personal, man. That guy sucks." And he walks off. I'm like, "You don't understand, man."
Oh man, easier said than done. You know what that reminds me of? Just how personally we take this stuff. And I'm not arguing against taking it personally. I think that that's directly tied to the passion one puts into it and how well they do and how well they succeed in it. Most artists are to a degree, obsessed with their work. And I think, we're artists, performance artists. But do you remember the one Mascot conference? And in retrospect, I chuckle at it, but I'm also ashamed and embarrassed a little bit about it because it was inappropriate. It's hard to be the guy at the front of the room. And do you remember the one year in Salt Lake City, Chad from the Timberwolves, the game operations director, was up there presenting? And, God bless him. He was a Mascot supporter. If anybody was pro Mascot as a game ops director, it was Chad. But he was up there, and the topic that he had chose to pick was pretty gutsy, considering who's the audience. And it was basically that we all need backups, and he was talking about how we all need fail safes for situations where if we can't perform our duties, whether we get sick or whether we get in a car accident or if somebody in our family dies or if somebody's getting married, that the guy, the PA announcer needs a backup, the guy that calls the game that was his role needs a backup. And listen, I haven't met a Mascot yet that wants anybody as a backup, right? It's to us, since you don't see our face and you don't have our name associated with the character, but even more importantly, we look at it as a derivation of ourselves, as an extension of ourselves, and that's our baby, and it's our craft and the way we do it. We don't want anybody ruining it or doing it differently. And also, we're a little insecure in that we don't want to feel like, oh, nobody can tell a big enough difference. They're replaceable, and we don't need to be paying them this much. Let's just bring in somebody younger for a fifth of the money, or in my case, a sixth of the money. Oh, did somebody say that? But so nobody wants to hear that, and we're all just letting them go on. And then I lost my temper and snapped. I don't know. Were you there? Do you remember this?
I don't remember the snap part. I remember the talk part, but I remember that it got heated, and everybody's like, "Wait, is he saying that?"
Well, I was the one, because I saw eyes in the room looking at me. And usually if somebody was going to be aggressive or bold, that was my nickname since high school, it was going to be me. And I raised my hand and I said, infamously, and I will change the words and not use the F word here. But I said, listen, Chad, you're not screwing my wife and you're not getting in my costume. I would rather you screw my wife before you got in my costume, and you're not doing either. And the whole
I forgot that. I don't know.
Fell out laughing. And I can chuckle, but man, I want to apologize to Chad. And I've tried, I have over the years personally. That was an inappropriate way to express it, because when you're the guy at the front of the room presenting, it's tough to be in front of 30, 40 guys, especially that are like us, as discerning as us about the craft. But yeah, we take it super personally, and it's not just what we do for money or a job. It's who we are, and to a large extent always will be. Right? You're always going to be known as that, whether you stop or not. Now, if you do it 1 or 2 years, probably not. But guys like us that have done it over 20 years, this is going to be part of our identity till the day we die.
Yeah, it really is. And it's going to be hard to separate the two when, for myself anyways, when I'm out the door and all that. But so, hey, I got to ask you, let's get into some stories here real quick.
Is the interviewee allowed to ask the interviewer a question?
Yeah.
What's your favorite moment of your career? If you had to pick one single moment, do you have one that stands out at least a little bit above all the rest? A tour you did, a celebrity you did a skit with, an individual skit on a random night, an appearance, anything?
I've got that question asked so many times. Traveled all over the world. I mean, some of my favorite places were Australia, I got to travel Australia with a good group of guys, and had a ball out there. And then I got to bring my brother and stuff. I mean, that was way back. Gosh, so many good trips.
Yeah.
I think there's been a couple involving, one involving Children's Hospital, which I've spoke about on here before, but seeing a little girl come out of a coma while I'm there, and while her mom is, telling her that, my character's there and saying my name, and that, he's holding your hand right now. And because I was holding her hand and everything. And here I've got a mom right across from me that's, she looks like she's just been through hell. She had been in a coma for a few days, I guess. And all of a sudden, she opened her eyes and looked at me.
Kenny, that's unreal.
I mean, tears running down my face. And you know how
that's got to be it right there. I mean,
how do you compare with that? I mean, that's huge. She looked, I could tell she was looking at me. She didn't change her she didn't really smile, but you could tell she was smiling, if that makes sense. It was, her whole countenance changed all of a sudden. She looked at me, and I could tell she was smiling on the inside. And
if
gosh,
that's not real life magic, then I don't know what is.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, my face was covered in tears. No one could tell that, but all of a sudden,
out of body experience.
Oh yeah, nurses are rushing in, and all of a sudden I'm kind of fading off to the back, and I stood there for a minute, and I said, just soak this in, and then I left.
One of the things that I've been always known for, I feel like, at least outwardly looking in from other people around the league, is kind of one of the business guys, in addition to skits and performing. But I've always, figured out how to market and sell, monetize. If I were there in that situation and I was a doctor or a hospital administrator, I would have grabbed your character by the wrist and said, "Hey, come down here. We got somebody else in a coma in this room. After there, we're going to this room." I would have said, "You'll be back tomorrow. You are our coma breaker."
And do you mind if we film this? So
yeah, right. Come to this hospital. We've got this magical character. Yeah. Well, it's a similar medical moment, and I just saw my wrist come up into here, and I've got 4 of these green wristbands on right now. I usually wear anywhere between 5 and 10 a day every morning that I leave the house since 2012. And I've given 5,000 of these out now. And it always gets people's attention because they say, "What's this guy wearing 10 of the same green wristband?" And that's let them start the conversation. I pull one off and I say, "I'll tell you the story if you let me give you one." And nobody's ever said no. I slip it onto their wrist. And it's the story of organ donation and how to save lives by being an organ donor. And it gives me the opportunity to tell them the 30-second story of my family's experience with organ donation, my subsequent, service on the board of Life Gift and the Todd Krampitz Foundation. And I get to speak on behalf of the Todd Krampitz Foundation, who has one mission, and that's to get everybody to say yes to organ donation. In 2012, my dad got a double lung transplant that saved his life from his donor. Unfortunately and tragically, the young man passed, Ian Heidemann, at 22 years old. But 3 years prior, at 19, he made the selfless decision and the forward-thinking decision to register himself as an organ donor should the unthinkable happen. And unfortunately, it did. He passed away in a car crash on Valentine's Day night, 2012. But due to the decision he made, he saved 5 lives. And where this relates to Clutch is, after a year cooling off period and grieving period, Life Gift allows you to reconnect with them as the intermediary. You can write the donor family a letter thanking them for the gifts. And then if the donor family is, amenable to it, you can meet. Well, we met at Life Gift, but on a separate second occasion, as a surprise, I had the donor family, Rob and Janice Heidemann, the parents of Ian, into a Rockets game. And they thought they were just going to sit in 2 seats in the stands on a Saturday night. And they were coming in because that next morning I was running the Houston Half Marathon in full costume as Clutch to support organ donation awareness, and did a bunch of interviews with them out of costume, and wore a t-shirt and headband that, said donatelifeamerica.org, sign up in 60 seconds to save a life. And they came into the suite, and what they didn't know was it was a suite, first of all, and there were all the people that received their son's organs that saved their lives. So it's this huge emotional moment, and then at the second time out of the second quarter, I came in costume, and I gathered everybody together. I got them to stand in front of the rail at the bottom of the suite. Didn't tell them anything. And when the timeout started, our announcer, John Paul Stevenson, started reading this script that I had written just hours beforehand, heaving, crying over my keyboard. And he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rob and Janice Heidemann to the Toyota Center. 2 years ago, Rob and Janice lost their son, Ian, in a tragic car accident. But due to his selfless forward thinking, he designated himself as an organ donor and saved 5 lives." And with that, a huge, thunderous round of applause. But what the audience didn't know is the camera was tight in on just Rob and Janice. And then it starts to pan out. And they say, joining Rob and Janice tonight are Ian's pancreas and kidney recipient, Rachel Brownhill.
Oh my gosh.
Ian's heart recipient, Reggie King. And Ian's double lung recipient, Paul Boudwin, who is Clutch's dad. And when it panned out all the way, at the end, it's me in costume as Clutch with my arm wrapped around my dad, hugging him, crying. We're both crying. And I'm saying at the top of my lungs through the costume, "I love you, Dad." And the whole place gave us a standing ovation. Single best moment of my career in 21 years. If there's a reason I got to do this, it was that. Life Gift saw their website spike 43% in January, which was unheard of numbers. We raised $100,000 for the cause over the course of 4 years, but 15,000 in that one marathon alone. And all I got for weeks was an inbox flooded, whether it was email or Facebook or text. "Clutch, I love you, but gosh darn it, you made me cry last night. You're supposed to make me laugh." But it was a standing ovation. I mean, our CEO came to me and said, "Hey man, I even saw our owner get up and stand and applaud. And I haven't seen him get up out of his seat to applaud for anything, ever." So it was awesome.
That is amazing. Yeah. I mean,
and I would just encourage any of your listeners to go out and register to be an organ donor. It takes 60 seconds. You go to donatelifeamerica.org and, you just put in your information, and, one day you might save a life or 8, and one day that life might be yours.
That's awesome. I'm an organ donor. I
love it. Look, so, hey, by the way, once I give out all of the bands and they're all gone, I got one green one tattooed beneath it that says "Donate Life," and it has my dad's initials and Ian's initials on the bottom side. So that when I'm out, I still got the tattoo there. One of 135 tattoos. Not that I have a problem.
I was trying to remember how many tattoos I was trying to tell somebody the other day how many tattoos you have, and then some of the clever ones that you've got.
Clever is a nice word. Stupid. Hey, I mean, how many people have a "kick me" sign on the middle of their back, or a chip on their shoulder, or a tattoo right here that says 2020 sucked? Never gonna forget this year. And by the way, this one was gotten 10 years beforehand. It says, "I regret this one."
That's awesome.
The body and life is meant to be fun.
Oh yeah. You know, see, I want to also pump your public speaking, because obviously Robert can speak here. If you want him for a speaking engagement, he's awesome at it. I'm telling you, this is a stretch for me doing a podcast because I don't speak well. I found the perfect profession for me where I got paid not to speak. So, but luckily Robert has both of those talents, performance and speaking.
Oh yeah, I bottled it all up. I came out of the womb talking, saying, "Yo, Mom, that took long enough," and then they put me in this costume, and I had to shut up for 21 years. So I've had some pretty notable ones. Fun. Did a TEDx talk that was fun. Spoke to the NCAA. Got a couple others out there, the National Society for Leadership and Success. So they actually got the wrong speaker for that. I'm actually speaking to Mensa coming up in August of 21 at their annual conference. They shot me an email asking me to speak. And the first two paragraphs of the email explained who Mensa was, that it was the top 98th percentile of IQs. And I'm immediately thinking, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm sitting on the toilet while I'm reading this, and I'm like, do you really want somebody speaking to you if you have to explain to them who Mensa is? So I know who Mensa is. I've known that since I was a kid. I haven't ever been in it. It was what all my friends rubbed in my face that I never would be. Pat Honeycutt and Chris Hoffman that were like smarty smarts. So I immediately email back, I generally only speak to the top 99th percentile of IQs, but I guess I'll make an exception. I got an email back. I couldn't even get off the toilet before I got an email back, and it was, "That's why we want you." So I'm looking forward to that. and it's a paid gig. It's not even like one of these, the privilege of speaking for. It's a paid gig. So yeah, please, thank you for bringing that up, Kenny. RobertBoudwin.com for all of my kind of speaking gigs, opportunities, and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I got to feed my 38 kids somehow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Any way you can, man. And you'll find it. Hey, so can we bring on Drake?
Hey, Drake.
So, yeah.
Is he in?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear him now on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Hey, Drake.
What's up?
How you been, man?
Good. Just been listening this whole time.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm enjoying it. It's entertaining. I love it.
Well, your dad's a lot more entertaining than me. He still's got it. Are we allowed to talk about, I don't know what the rules are. Are we allowed to talk about how
just keep the names out.
Names.
Just keep the names out.
Yeah, keep the names out, but you got 2 generations of NBA mascots on this call, right?
Yeah. So Drake is still trying to find a position. Garrett, Detroit with the Pistons.
Okay, Garrett is at a team, but Drake has performed on court with you.
Yes, many times.
Your kids, like mine, grew up performing since a young age.
Yes, I have a video of Drake on the court with me, 2 weeks old. In fact, we did one of those side-by-side pictures the other day where he was all grown up.
Drake, this question's for you. Do you ever feel like you were born into like a circus family? Like,
No, not at all.
Man, this guy's making me work for my meal. Like, you get to eat this week if you perform this skit.
It definitely feels like that. Being on the court, I remember I was in middle school and we had the first dunk team for the team, and we were definitely not getting paid for that, but we did it for a couple of years, and yeah, so it was dunking with the mascots. It was always fun.
Yeah, I had a boss when I left the Rockets. I was the director of marketing on a contract basis, along with several other clients at the Sam Houston Race Park. And I would have my boys come in and do skits. And he brought up about child labor laws. And I was like, these are my kids. They do what I tell them, all right? They're not, Their payment is already well above minimum wage in the I square footage of the house, and then I amateurized it, or prorated it.
I remember one time, one of my favorite bits was musical chairs, and I just abused the kids, just get off the chair and shove them and everything. One time, my youngest, he was there, he was playing with us, and he lost. And as he's walking away from the chairs, I just walked right up behind him and just shoved him right down on his stomach and everything. And the crowd was like, boo! Oh my God. I mean, they about came apart. And after the game, not even after the game, during the game, third quarter, my boss was in there going, whose kid was that? And it wasn't like my boss, it was the boss.
Right. And you're like,
he had fired in there. The CEO came in and he's like, what was that? I'm like, that's my kid. That's mine. He's like, all right. You sure? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Unless there's something I don't know about. And then you double back to them. Now that you mention it, there always was something different about that one from the other two.
That one looks a little different. Absolutely. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, using my kids was great. So Drake, tell them another skit you were in that was probably not one of your favorites.
Kind of like you were compelled to do it.
Yes.
I remember walking around and doing the construction guy, the construction boy skit, where he'd walk around and hold the signs up. I remember at the end, he tells to kick the ref, and I always felt terrible about that. I don't know why. It felt wrong. But kick him as hard as you can. All right, kick him in the shin and walk off. I just remember doing that. I always felt bad about that one.
Hey, I'm so glad you brought that skit up. That I stole from Robert. That was a Robert bit.
And you know what? I stole it from the original Benny the Bull from Dan Lamont.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
I think we were talking about him the other day on the podcast.
Yeah, I got that one from him. I saw that from him doing that way back in the day. Man, there's a couple I had out there that were originals, but not that one. But that was the great thing we were talking about, borrowing from each other.
Right.
Because everybody that watches it in Denver thinks, everybody that watches it in Denver or Houston or Utah or Philly or whatever city your mascot's from, they think that mascot created it. So
yeah, exactly.
It's fun to share.
Hey,
we have your son here on the phone.
Yeah. Hey, so I got a question for you. Give me a near death. Have you had a near death? Yeah,
one. It was doing a wrestling. I wouldn't near death. I've injured my neck twice. Who knows there, and I can still crack it. Those were some acute injuries. But one time we were doing a wrestling skit. I was doing it with Miguel Vargas, who was then Sly the Fox in New Jersey. And it was supposed to be like I knock him out, put him on one of those Granger 8-foot tables, and then pull the mini tramp back out, hit the mini tramp, fly 10 feet forward, kind of out like,
spread eagle,
fly, snook up and land on and break on the table. But we accidentally didn't have the equipment set up right, not blaming anybody. Dominic Davila went over at rehearsal, and he had the table set up right against the tramp, against the mini tramp. And at the other end of the court, through the screen, and the vision and clutch isn't the greatest. I don't have that kind of depth perception. And I was never a gymnast by trade. So, anything that I did, I picked up along the way in an amateur way that wasn't comedy or sketch, the physical stuff. And I hit that tramp, and the second my feet are hitting it, I'm like, shoot. That table's not 10 feet out. It's right there. So I dive down to try to save the bit, land completely inverted upside down on my head. Thank God Clutch's head is big and bulbous because a lot of the foam absorbed it, caving in. But it pendulumed me around, and I hit my lower back on the floor so hard that my whole right leg went numb. and I couldn't. I tried to get up, save the bit. Everybody knew that was a screw up. There was no. Everybody in the building knew that that's not how that bit was supposed to go, and there was an ooh, and not in a good way. And I dropped an elbow. I got up, dropped like the people's elbow from The Rock on to Sly. And then I tried to jump back up and walk off the court, but I didn't get off. I collapsed. My leg gave out and they had to drag me off. That's probably the biggest injury that I've had.
Oh, wow.
And then I missed a game or two. And, you know, you've had your fair share of injuries, though. You broke your back once.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told that one, gosh, in a long time, but yeah, it was very similar, but I was going to dunk over 8 dancers, 8 cheerleaders, whatever they were at the time. But as I ran down the court and I hit the trampoline, this was in a preseason game. So I don't know why we were, dunking at a preseason game, because those we usually just slide through. But anyways, I was dunking at a preseason game, hit that trampoline, and the trampoline slid. And so it changed my trajectory. And instead of going up and out and over and all that, it just shot me pretty much straight up. And I just remember looking down at the dancers going, oh, I can't hit them. So I kind of like threw my shoulder back and tried to, curve and twist.
And go sideways.
Yeah. Well, I came down and I landed on the mat, but it was only my head and shoulders. And I was at an angle at that point. So my head and shoulders hit the mat, but spun me. It just like whipped me to the floor. So my lower back actually hit the hardwood.
Yeah.
And just, I hit so hard. I actually kind of bounced up onto my feet a little bit. And so my knees were still bent and everything, but I kind of got up and just fell. And at that point, stagehands grabbed my shoulders and stood me up, like, because I was laying there. I'm like, ha ha, we know you wrecked, but they didn't know I had gotten hurt.
Right. People forget there's a person in there sometimes and think we're just big stuffed animals that you can throw across the room. And
yeah.
There's a body with muscles and nerves and bones that break.
Right. So I fell again and they picked me up again. And I'm like, okay, this time I can keep my balance. So as I'm walking, I am walking at this point. My back is broken, but it's so like wiggly. It's just, I'm actually balancing on my spine. And as I'm walking off the court, this little girl sitting courtside, it's like, hey, and punches me right in the nose. I mean, and like one of those slow motion Rocky movie punches, like,
and your back's broken, right?
And I'm like, oh, that hurts so bad. I just want to punch you back.
If there's ever an opportunity or a reason to punch a little girl, it's now.
So I stayed up though. As I stayed up, I'm walking. I'm like, I got to exit. I got to get out of here. I can't be, pulled off of there. And I can't interrupt the game or whatever. So I'm trying to make my way out to the curtain. And as I'm walking out, I catch a railing with my sleeve. Oh man. So this time I actually spin all the way around. Like I walk in a circle, like trying to not fall down and make it to the curtain, get through the curtain, make it to a doorway behind the curtain in the tunnel there, and held on as I just kind of
almost like a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Just collapsed right there. And
I remember that being kind of like a pivotal moment because we all started taping the bottom of our legs in the
trampoline.
Yeah, on the trampolines, we would tape the bottoms so that they wouldn't move or anything like that.
Yeah.
You had another one where you were completely passed out while descending, right?
Yeah, got choked out.
Opening night.
I got choked out opening night. Choked out. I have a lot of interesting opening night stories. One involving an arrest, but anyways, this one was. I got choked. I got choked up at the top, and afterwards, everybody's like, oh man, he must have been drunk or he passed out because he was scared or something like that. I'm like, I just got choked. So
yeah,
full on choke out.
God.
So that was not a good moment either.
I just got an idea. You have your son here on the call.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been working on during this pandemic is a website called radicaldadding.com. And it's basically and it's not for money or anything like that. At the most, it's a way for me to kind of have an online family photo album with video as well, kind of collating all of our stories between me and my two twins. And I totally love doing it. It's like becoming a hobby and an obsession hobby where I document some of this stuff and, have the social sites. But I have all 4 of my kids here. Could they come on the call real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, guys. Jack, Luke. Jack, Luke.
They're like, Dad's calling, hide.
Dad's yelling again. I asked them, I said, hey, do I yell a lot? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, do I seem mad? And they're like, no, you just yell. Hey, can you guys come here? You're going to jump on this call with me, and we're going to show everybody our tree. Just come on, leave it on for a second, Luke. Just let it play, Luke. This is a live stream. Come on out here. Come here. Let's show everybody.
Stop playing with fire.
Come on in here, Bailey.
Stop lighting the cat on fire.
This is Brooklyn. What's your name? Bailey. Luke. And Jack. So these are my 2 sets of twins. And right behind us, can you tell me what we have, Brooklyn, behind us? A tree. What kind of tree is it? A green tree. So is it just a Christmas tree? No. Show him. He can see it. He sees all the St. Patrick's Day stuff. So you want to tell them what it is, Jack? Luke. Right, but we call it our holiday tree, right? So what was it before it was our St. Patrick's Day tree? Don't sound too excited, guys. Our Valentine's Day tree, and before that, Christmas, and after St. Patrick's, what's it going to be? No, not Earth Day. Nobody cares about Earth Day. Oh, great. Now I'm going to have all the tree huggers after me. No, Easter. It's going to be our Easter tree with Easter eggs colored and bunnies. And then after that, do you remember? Remember, it's the easier one because we leave it the same for 5 months.
Summer tree.
What do you mean summer tree? No, that's it. No dinner for you guys tonight. No, remember America, because we got Memorial Day, and then we got we got July 4th, and then Labor Day. And then after Labor Day, we switch from red, white, and blue back to Halloween, and then Thanksgiving, and then back to Christmas. So we don't leave it up every year, but we leave it up every couple years, and we decorate it all year long to the holiday.
It's a great idea.
My Christmas tree is still up. I'm about to put that into a St. Patrick's Day tree.
There you go. It's an excuse. I think that's how it originally started. Like I said, we don't do it every year because we want it to be special. But I think the original year, it was because, like, man, it's February. We still haven't taken down the tree yet. Hey, throw some hearts on that thing and make it a Valentine's Day tree, but we don't have to take it down.
See, okay. Now, you don't have a wife right now.
No, I do not.
So that's another reason why you still have a tree up. That's how you can pull that off. Yeah. Most wives are like, we got to get the tree out of here. Let's go.
Yeah.
We'd have our trip in March, man.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Although when this tradition started, I did have a wife.
Oh, okay.
It might have even been her idea. So, but
there you go.
Who knows? She also thought it was a good idea to marry me. So, let's not trust her judgment too much.
She ain't all there.
Thank you for having me on, Kenny. It's great to talk to you too, Jake.
Yeah.
You guys keep killing it in the Mascot world. I know you got your gyms and your other businesses, your tramp parks. You're diversifying. I'm just happy that we're still friends and this close of friends after this long. It's been 25 years now that, since I met you in 95. So 26 years. So keep
Hey,
on.
Can I bring up one other thing real quick?
Yeah.
So Drake, I believe, actually wore your costume one time, and he said it was literally the worst costume he'd ever been in. Worst vision and worst smelling.
Well, that's undoubtedly because it's got my sweat and gunk in there. But yes, he pinched hit for me when I had 103-degree fever, and there was an Indianapolis Pacers game, and he had to stand in because the ticket was already bought and they already put Clutch on the poster. So it was, I think, one of 5 times out of 6,000 appearances and 1,500 games, I had somebody else in the costume, and it was an easy decision to trust another NBA mascot's son to do it. Thank you for that.
We were at dinner because we had like back-to-back birthday parties to go to. We were in
Yeah, you were in Houston. We were in Houston, and I was like coming down with it. I was feeling horrible.
Yeah, I remember that. It was the hardest time I've ever had dunking in my life is wearing that costume. But it was a good experience. I loved it. We went straight to Pacers and did another game and hopped in there.
Right on. Clutch was a little bit shorter that day, if I remember.
Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Yeah, that was one of my little traditions with my boys, was taking them around whenever I went to birthday parties and
I remember.
Like that. So
I remember several of them.
Yep, you guys were always and have been from day one very gracious and understanding and accepting and entertaining for my boys. So yeah, thank you.
Some of our best friends growing up. It was great.
Thanks for saying that, Drake. It was always special to see you guys tagging along with your pop. All right, well, thanks for having me on. Never, ever forget that I am a shameless self-promoter. Visit spearminerals.com.
Yep.
Visit robertboudwin.com. B as in boy, O-U-D as in David, W-I-N. And visit Radical Dadding, like it's the act of doing something. Dadding. RadicalDadding.com. Thank you.
Share, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks for being on here, Robert.
Yo, Mom, that took long enough.
Just picked up some bands, come again.